Hi, this is Mark Schiff, the podcast You Don't Know Schiff, and I'm here with my illustrious co-host, Lowell Benjamin. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good yuntov.
I'm just processing all these greetings.
I wished somebody who I was on their podcast a little while ago, I wished them an easy fast for Yom Kippur, 8 months in advance. And he just, he said, thank you. He didn't buck me on it or say, that's 8 months from now.
Right.
Or what do you mean? He said, thank you. Like he was starting his fast tomorrow for September.
Do you think he thought you were out of sorts and then he didn't know what to do, so he was trying to be polite?
Maybe he thought I was reading the Jewish calendar, which has nothing to do with every other calendar.
He's like, are you reading right to left or left to right?
Yeah.
Does he know you're a comedian?
Yes, he interviewed me. He knows I'm a comedian, and he's a hypnotist. So I do.
Oh.
So you guess what joke did I? It's not a good joke, but what joke did I say to him once I found out he was a hypnotist?
I don't know a particular joke, but it's something involving your wife.
Well, he had a wife joke. He said he's hypnotized his wife 30 years ago, and she's going to be very upset when she comes out of it. But I said to him, I started out as a hypnotist in show business. I was really a stand-up comedian, but I was so bad I used to put the audiences to sleep. And that's,
Did he have a drum set there?
That's a standard, it could lead to dancing in the Jewish world joke. The hypnotist.
Or when the ambulance goes by, like, oh, my ride is here.
Yeah.
Or the police car.
The police, yeah. So it's a standard hypnotist.
I'm not in those circles.
But let's tell everybody who's coming on tonight. And go ahead.
Did you get sleepy during that interview by any chance?
No, but he hypnotized me to start smoking. I've never seen this before in hypnosis. He goes, you will start.
He's very aspirational.
A package of Marlboro cigarettes, and you are not married, so go pick up the first woman you see. So it was a very unusual type of hypnosis. Complete opposite of what my rabbi would like me to do.
Well, there's a market for everything, right?
Yeah. If you could be hypnotized to do something that your wife would hate you to do, but you can blame it on the hypnosis and get away with it, what would that be?
Well, based on my wife's anger per capita, it's whenever I sing or hum in the house.
Wow.
Sets her off. Like, you've never seen anything like it. So that would be amazing if I could have sort of a hall pass where, I can do that all I want. And then she would have to say, well, it's the damn hypnosis.
Can you get her a pair of the headphones that way you can't hear anything?
I did tell her, I said, can I get you an eye mask and earplugs? Because when she sleeps, like she can't have any noise whatsoever. So, and then also when I drive, that would be a good one, because whenever I drive, she's commentating, clapping,
Yeah, I know. Listen, I'm married. I've been there. Not to your wife, but my wife got earplugs when she gets into bed to not hear me begging.
Hey-o.
Yeah. But she needs 3 sets because I beg very loud. She just keeps pushing them in her ear. They're tapping
like a
on her brain
between you.
Yeah. Mechitza, by the way, if you're not Jewish or if you are and you're Reformed, the mechitza joke is the divider between men and women in the synagogue, basically. The women on one side doing their nails and the men on the other side talking about sports.
So there'll be a quiz later on. What is a mechitza?
Yeah. So, but where we're not going to divide the line is we have my good friend of many years for part 2 now, Hiram Kasten.
Yes.
And
so part 2, we talk, more about his career, and then we get into some life issues and, health and family and stuff like that. So a very heartfelt and interesting part 2 with Hiram.
Right. Hiram had some medical issues, which you talk about. And again, I said it earlier in the part 1 introduction of Hiram. He's a man that handles things quite well.
Yeah.
He got some not great news medically, although he's doing very well a while back. And I would talk to him. And usually when someone gets, shaky news, you call them to try to cheer them up. And he would cheer me up all the time and share some of his life wisdom and his belief in God. He's a big believer in God. And he's not afraid to share it.
And unwavering.
He is unwavering when it comes to God. And I'm not talking about his wife. I'm talking about, the higher up God, the
Okay.
real
Do I,
one.
do I bring
So,
out another heyo? Okay.
hey-o.
Yeah. So
So anyway,
this was a great interview. We hope people enjoy part 2 with Hiram. If you haven't heard part 1, head over to your podcast platform and listen to it as well.
yeah. So Hiram Kasten, enjoy.
I just wanted to follow up on the Larry David story.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
we've talked about being Jewish and then church, and you were on an amazing episode of Curb, the baptism. Could you kind of
Yes.
walk us through a little bit about that? How'd you get on that
Yes.
episode? And
Well, I was on crutches, if you remember,
yeah.
and I had left the show in Las Vegas, and then they called me back for a week or two to fill in for the guy that filled in for me,
Mhm.
and I went back and I fell off the stage,
Mhm.
and they thought, oh my God, he's going to sue the casino, he's going to sue the producers again. I'm going to sue everybody.
Mhm.
No, I said to one of the assistant producers, all I want is the highest workman's comp I can get,
Mhm.
and I want it by the end of this week. And don't you know, that's exactly what they did. And I collected for 6 months. It was the best 6 months of my career.
Mhm.
So then I get home, and the casting woman calls and says, Larry wants you. Larry wants you
Mhm.
in Curb. I said, okay, but I got to tell you the truth because I love Larry. I want to surprise him. I got a cast on my foot. I walk with crutches.
Mhm.
She says, hold on. Presses the button, calls him for a second. It comes back on. He says, it's even funnier this way. So
That's great.
that's why he's good. Yeah, he's all right. But fell out of touch. The years go by quick. Mark, when you went to Texas, you got a little scared about that when you were out there for a little while. I
2
listened to my
years.
wife because she did for me, so I did for her. She wanted me to come out here. And you turn around, it's 10 years I'm out here. And
Well, she had family there, and we went back for our family in Texas. So
yeah, I know, but I wanted very much to. A couple of years ago, Larry David was doing a Broadway play, right?
it wasn't the Woody Allen play, was it? What play was it?
No, he wrote a play and did
He
it.
wrote a play they did on Broadway. That's right. He was in the Woody Allen movie. He did a Woody Allen movie, which I thought he was
That I
terrific
In
in.
fact, that's a few years ago. Mark, somebody said at Catch, somebody said, could you imagine years ago, somebody told you Larry David would star in a Woody Allen movie and you wouldn't have run to see it?
I thought he was amazing in it, but
Really? I didn't see
I
it.
think he hated the experience of Broadway because it's 8 shows a week, and
But it's
well,
amazing. See I have to go back to what you said about loving the business so much. Oh my God, that's the one thing I've never done.
mhm.
So that's why I called Larry out of the blue after 10 years not speaking to him. Yeah, how you doing? I said, I have a Rolodex like nobody's business. I got home numbers, and I got good ones because I don't give them out. And how you doing? And I started to make small talk first. I didn't want to just get on the phone and say, give me a part in New York. I want to read for the thing. So I said, how you doing, this and that. And I actually was a little intimidated because he had become so big. Unlike Seinfeld, where we have roots, from day
Mhm.
one. With Larry, he's been divorced. It's a lot of things happening. And I started to stumble over. I said, are you in New York? And he goes, I'm in New York. That's why you called me about the Broadway play, right? Oh, God. I said, yes. And he says, well, you know me long enough. You can just answer. You don't have to go around circles. I said, and this is what I said, Mark. This is 100% truth. I said, Larry, some of us are still flying around without crash helmets. We're just flying all over the place. You know what I mean, Mark. We're just going. We don't know. Sometimes we bang into a wall. Sometimes we don't, But we're going to keep flying around. So forgive me. I hadn't seen you in 10 years. I did not open a call with asking for something. I want to know how you are. And I said, oh, yeah, all right. So it was to read a small part of a doctor. And I I had to fly down to New York. It cost me more money, And then, but Larry had me read 2 different doctors. So in the end, it was all right. John DeBellis said, if he yells at you, it means he likes you.
Right.
So, but he didn't give it to me. But you know what I learned, Mark? Next time, if there ever was a next time, just say, give me that.
So that was after Curb.
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Years
So do you remember, because I guess people say that he basically just has an outline for the show. Do you remember what you were told ahead of time?
Yes, it's an ad-lib show. But the only thing he says is he says to me, just get in this one line.
Mm-hmm.
When you're yelling back and forth, don't say he's a bad guy. This is a great thing what he did today.
Yeah.
You're
And for
doing
those
them
that
wrong.
don't know,
Save the
this was
Gentiles.
Larry interrupted a baptism. There was a Jewish guy who was
Correct.
converting, and then Larry interrupted
Right.
it, and then you called over Larry.
And then Larry says to me, make sure you say it's a good thing what you did today.
Right.
That's all.
I loved your line where
Everything
you
else.
said you don't have to take a bow. That was a
Well,
great
thank
ad lib.
you. I'll tell you another one they didn't use is I actually made him laugh. This is almost as good as the Mel Brooks thing. He spit some little piece of shit from his tooth on my face. You know, his biggest fear in life is doing that. And what do? You do like I did. You make like it didn't happen. You live with the feel of the thing, not to embarrass the other person. He knows he did it. And so that's all. So they cut that part out, but it was, it was, you don't have to take a bow. And there was another one I said, when the other guy comes over and says, listen, could you speak at our shul or something? I said, hey, don't beat the guy up, huh? It's just the way I talk these expressions. Larry laughed. He didn't want to laugh.
So how many, do you recall like how many takes that was, or was that like a full day or what?
When I'm involved, my friend, ain't that many takes.
Yeah.
It's not that many takes. It's other. The great Paul Dooley was on the Christian side. Rick Overton,
Right.
great comic and actor. And on the Jewish side, Jeff Garland's father and mother.
Oh, his actual father and mother?
Yeah. Now I don't know, man. Well, if I write this book, Schiff, I'm going to tell all. I got nothing to fear.
Go for it, Hiram. Go for it.
I mean, I'll tell every single thing.
By the way, you mentioned Paul Dooley. He was one of my favorites. He passed on a couple years ago. I remember him in the what was the bicycle movie?
Did he die recently?
Yeah. But he was a quite amazing actor.
No, Paul Dooley's alive.
And very open and friendly.
And what Hiram? Or what? Say one second.
Paul Dooley's alive. I ran into him a couple of years ago. He's super nice at a
he's still alive.
Westwood, but he's still alive. Yeah.
Paul, I'm very sorry because I know him.
Tried to kill him off.
I know him a little bit, but he was in the bicycle movie where he was a used car salesman, and his son returns the car, refunds a car, and he's screaming the word refund, Paul, refund, and then he's in bed after having a heart attack because he had to give back money to somebody.
You're talking about Breaking Away?
Breaking Away.
Yeah.
One of my favorite. I think it won an Academy Award, maybe.
I think so.
The movie might have won an Academy Award.
But he was not playing a Jewish man.
No, not at all.
No. But he couldn't say the word refund. By the way, that camera store, what did you say? It was 47th
Street Photo.
You know what I mean? 9th Avenue?
Yeah.
Right.
It used to be on 47th, but now it moved to 9th Avenue.
Right. Well, they got the city block, like Macy's. They had a fucking city block, okay?
One of the great camera stores in the world.
Thrive cameras, this microphone, everything. Thriving business. And so I
not one Jewish item in this. The most religious people selling things. Not one item from Israel in the entire store. Everything from Japan, from China, from Germany.
Money.
They make Germany more money than anybody on the planet. These people,
right? And their salespeople are not necessarily Jewish. They take
not
in
necessarily
Gentile salespeople. The only place it's all white shirts and yarmulkes is the refund department. It's true. You go by that group, you're gonna get out. You better not try.
I'll tell you a quick story about 47th Street Photo. Early on in my life, I went into 47th Street Photo and I stole some stuff. I stole a couple of rolls of film from them.
Well, he and I have sticky fingers. It's from the Bronx.
So I was maybe 16 years old, 17 years old. So I stole this film. So cut to about 20 years later, I've changed my life. I've gone back to temple, back to synagogue. I stopped drinking and all that. And I got to make amends to people for things I've done wrong. Yes. So I happened to be in 47th Street Photo, and I didn't remember this until I was online to pay for some items I was buying. I thought to myself, my God, I remember I stole about 10 rolls of film from these people, and I need to make amends now for it. So I get up front, and there's a guy with a big black coat, a chassid, a Hasidic guy, black coat, white shirt.
Money change.
He's got the big hat. And I said to him, he goes, so that'd be $87. And I go, put another 10 rolls of film on my bill. And he goes, where's the film? So I said, listen, I'm on a spiritual trip here. some years ago I stole 10 rolls of film from you and I need to pay
Oi.
for it. Need to pay for it now. He goes, hold on. He goes and talks to another guy with a longer beard, the bigger hat than him. And they're discussing my case together. He comes back. He goes, okay, this is what we've figured out. I need to charge you the amount of money that the rolls of film were 10 years ago. I can't charge you today's price because if I did, then I'd be robbing you.
Ah.
Ah, it was beautiful. So he put on the 10 rolls of film. It was an extra, whatever it was, $4 a roll at that time, when I stole it. And I paid for it. And the whole spiritual world revolved beautifully. I
Isn't
had
that
to
great?
clean up my thing. He knew exactly what he had to do.
That's
And
nice.
I walked out of there a free man.
But you didn't pay back the dermatologist.
Now, the son of a.
Son of a bitch, rat bastard. I tell him that all the time, and he says, forget it. Like there's a statute of limitations. He might
There you
be
go.
dead. Give it a
If
shot.
it wasn't for me, at that point in your life, nobody was squeezing that section of you anyway. So at least you got a little squeezing from the doctor.
Hey, back then I was doing okay. That's why I was there.
I noticed in the outtake that you had with Mel Brooks, David Steinberg pops out at the end.
Yes, I'm reading his book right now.
Oh, really? Yeah. How was that working
Correct.
with him?
Well, it's all be in my book because I saw him as at 16 years old.
Mm-hmm.
He was just coming up and filling in for Johnny and filling in for Merv. And he was a hot new item, and he kept his name.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was wild. I followed him assiduously. I said, "This is the guy." And then I read in the Post and Earl Wilson. I know you're not gonna know who these people are, but Mark will know. He's appearing at the Persian Room at the Plaza Hotel.
Mhm.
Mark, there used to be a Persian Room.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
I remember it.
At the Plaza Hotel. And I said, I got my little Robert Hall jacket and I put it on and I went on the subway. This is not the L, now it's the D train, the subway. I want to go down to the plaza. I don't know if I had more than 10. How could I have had more than $10 in my pocket? What did I have? What made me think that I could get in to see him with $10 in the Persian Room? And the fact is, like you were saying, Mark, there's something about me. I found as the years went by, it comes off of me. Even at 16, it comes out of my eyes and my ears. And when I'm in the zone, which is show business, then everything kind of works out. I mean, the first play I auditioned for and this, and I go down, and I don't even know what it would cost to go to a Persian Room. And I saw the maitre d' in my little Tinker Toy jacket and tie. I said, how much is it to see? She's just stand against the wall.
Mm.
I stood against the wall and got to see David Steinberg then. And then 100 years later, he's directing me.
Wow.
And just, everything like that has kind of happened. But you didn't mention Jerry Lewis. That was a big thrill for me.
Yeah, Bill
Go
Maher
ahead.
actually mentioned
Yeah.
the other day on
Yes,
Club
I
Random.
heard that.
Yeah. Would you share that story with us?
Yes, he got it a little wrong, but
Okay.
yeah, but that's all right. I like being mentioned by Bill Maher. That was fine. He was at my wedding, but now I don't think that would happen again. But I was in Las Vegas with my friend Joel Rabinowitz from Clark Place. We were best friends at the time. Joel made money. He was in collection agencies. Yeah. So he says, let's go to Las Vegas. And our excuse was to see Wallace, who was opening for Tom Jones.
George
This
Wallace.
is a long time ago. And getting on the plane. Of course, we're going first class. My friend just had a lot of cash money he wanted to burn. And I don't even remember where my friend was, probably in the bathroom. But before I got in the plane, since it's first class, I see Jerry Lewis emptying his pockets into the last slot machine before going in the plane, like everybody. Well, I was speechless. And the first thing I did was, as I talked to him, I don't know if you can see me, I'm backing up. So, excuse me, Mr. Lewis. I just said, and I'm backing up like you would to a king. I said, I don't mean to bother you. I just want, and my voice is getting lower and I'm getting further away. And I just want to thank you for all the humor that you brought to people and all the good that you've done. And I walk away and he just goes, thank you. Like that. I get on the plane. It was a wide body, right? And so it's 2, 5, and 2. So me and my friend are 2, and he and his wife to be or is two on the other side. So I said to the stewardess, back when they wore stewardesses and wore uniforms, could you please tell Mr. Lewis that there's a young comedian here, that if he ever gets a chance, I would love to speak to him. It's a 5.5 hour trip. I said, he can't avoid me now. And she did it, and he came over doing a shtick and quickly turned his head and put his face next to mine. From the word go, he was entertaining me.
Mhm.
I think Ma was 100% wrong when he says he needs to do that. I think he needs to be Jerry Lewis. That's true.
Right.
But he does not, as you would expect, go up to a lot of people and fool around with them.
Right.
And in the course of our conversation, which was 20 minutes, I said to him, you mind if I ask you, how come you're so nice and your reputation is always being kind of rough? He said, people don't approach me the way you did. That's what he said. And they touch you, they interrupt your lunch, they bother your family, he starts yelling, like he was wont to do. And you didn't do that. I said, well, I wouldn't. And we stayed in touch. The Mars story at the end is true, but he got it a little wrong. Jerry would not have sat for 20 minutes with the headphones in reverse on his face, waiting for me to look.
Right.
He knew from being a superstar, it will only take 30 seconds for me to look at him.
Right.
Mark, at the end, I figured I don't want to look at him. He thinks I'm going to look at him. I don't want to look at him. And he was waiting with the headphones, one in front and one in the back. And I looked at him, and he just was looking at me like that. Fantastic.
Wow.
That's cool.
Do you remember anything? Do you remember anything he told you about comedy,
I
or
remember every single word he said.
give us a little piece?
Oh, it was about you got to believe in yourself. Of course, all these things I kind of did, but not to that extent. The Barbara Streisands, the Jerry Lewises, they're so far beyond our understanding of what it is to have faith in yourself. But you got to try. So he said to me, "Do you? What's your name?" And I got so scared, I gave him my real name. I said, "Hiram Kasten." And he says, "Oh, God bless you." He says, "Where are you working?" I said, "I'm only at Catcher." Don't you ever say only. Don't say only. Think of that like you think of Jew hater. That's just what he said. Don't say only. So I'm MC at Catch a Rising Star. He says, okay, when you go on a Catch a Rising Star, do you feel you're the greatest who's ever hit that stage? 100% the greatest? I go, well, 93, 94, half kidding. He goes, fuck it, you're jerking yourself off. Just like that. You got to feel you're 100% the best because no one will ever tell you are. And boy, is that the truth, right, Mark?
Mm-hmm.
No one's going to say to you, you're great. You're the greatest. You have to believe it to keep going in a crazy business like this. So that's
great advice from him. Great advice.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And then a very, very Yiddish guy, very Jewish, Jew conscious, as my mother would say. It just very much, and I didn't say one piece of shit, nothing about MDA, nothing. It was comic talking to comic. He insisted I call him Jerry. And then his wife to be comes over to break it up. She says, Jerry, that movie you wanted to see is starting now. He goes, not now. I'm talking shop.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
My other friend, I just said to him, when he comes by, if he comes by, you say what you got to say quick and then lay back. Nothing for the whole time. Okay, like that. A civilian. Okay. So when Jerry Lewis came by, he goes, Mr. Lewis, I want to tell you I saw Nutty Professor 5 times. Jerry goes, thank you. Then he turns to me. He never looks at that other guy again.
Mm-hmm.
There's something very special about being in show business. You're in the club.
Right.
And I've heard
True.
Jerry's when asked, who's your favorite comedian? He says, and he said in the Dick Cavett show, anybody who picks up a mic and goes on stage at that minute is the best. If he's doing it, he's great.
Right.
And,
beautiful.
So I want to tell you one other thing. I take my relationships very seriously. And when Frank Sinatra died, I really meant this with all my heart. They were good friends. Now, just because they're famous doesn't mean they don't have a heart and aren't hurt by this. And I went to the store and I got a Hallmark card, like you'd get a condolence card. And I wrote something in it too. And I just said, Dear Jerry, I'm so sorry, you know, blah, blah, blah. Please accept my sincere, blah, blah, blah. I said, I have no idea what it's like to have Frank Sinatra as a friend. And I certainly can't imagine what it's like to lose him. Please accept my blah, 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 blah. Hiram. He calls me back at my house in Los Angeles. Oh, I looked up to see if my mother was watching. Oh, and I actually got so nervous. I just said, he says, Hiram, you're a mensch. That's what he said, Mark. Hiram, you're a mensch. So that's my story, and I'm stuck with it.
Wow,
It's a great
that is a
story.
fantastic.
And there came a time when I stopped calling him. You get that feeling that, all right, now it's getting annoying. It's been 2 years. He's been good. Slowly spending less and less time. Oh, he sent me a letter once around Christmas. And he's, because I wrote him a note saying I bought these DVDs as a gift for my daughter, blah, blah, blah. And he said, I'm so glad you bought it, quotation mark, gift. He said, this Christmas season, I'm going to be on the boat in San Diego. If you find your way down there, give me a call. Nice, huh?
Beautiful.
But no, I'm in Batavia. Every fucking Christmas, my wife would drag me up here to see her family, and I'm a good husband. I go. In the summer, Batavia. In the Christmas, Batavia. We never went to Hawaii. We never went anywhere. I get home from our recent foray into the winter wonderland here, and I open the mail. I see that letter, that envelope. Oh my God! I open it up, and it's that letter, but the secretary sent it out late or whatever, and it was well past when I got it. So I run to the phone. I quickly call and say, "Oh my God! I was at it." Blah, blah, blah. And I learned something about superstars. You get one shot. That's it. They don't want to know what happened. You were asked, and you didn't go. You know what I mean, Mark?
Right, I do.
You know, he's as nice as he is with me. He didn't say, "Okay, Hiram, we'll do it another time." He
Mhm.
just didn't say anything. That's it. I invite you. It's like a sriracha. I invite you, and you don't show up. I don't want to know
Right.
who died. It's a superstar thing.
Mhm.
But he was wonderful. I have a little shrine to him. That guy wrote for an autograph when I was in junior high. I have that little picture and an autograph up.
Sure.
I'm just finding that you talk about spirituality in life, that everything in my life, when I put the right foot forward, it's all sort of come around. The ones I met or talked to or dreamt of meeting, I then met years later. It's kind of amazing, really.
Yes, it is.
I don't know what it means, Mark, but I think I'm blessed.
You are.
You know what my daughter said to me recently? She said, Dad, I may not be the best actor. I may not be the best singer, but you know what I got? I got showmanship.
Hmm.
I'm
That's true.
very proud father.
I'm proud.
But she didn't want it. She wanted to go all the way with showbiz until one too many times she heard her mother say she was starving, literally starving
Mhm.
as an actress, working 3 different waitressing jobs. She says, I don't want it that bad.
Right.
That's the answer. Mark, I came to this conclusion recently. I got a lot of time to think. And one of the things is because old Moneybags, you know, is Mr. Stand Up. The thing is, the influence of his time. We're in his era, and really we are. And it's all about writing, and it's all about being a stand-up. So you did Johnny Carson's show, right? I never did. And so amongst stand-ups, that's the holy grail. You know, wow, they did it once, but they did it, and I did it. And I'm thinking, I did so many sitcoms and hour-long shows, and everything, but nobody else was trying to do it, was doing it, or could do it. And I did it, and I don't think I received the same kind of attention I would like for that. And you have to tell yourself, well, I'm not doing that for other people. I did that for me. It was a big thrill. But when people look at me like, how come you didn't do Johnny Carson? And, you know, somebody once said to me, well, you couldn't just memorize 6 minutes and just do 6 minutes. I said, no, I couldn't. That's not how I worked. But they don't
Right.
say that to a guy about with acting. So that's just what it is. But it was odd.
Well, you're
I
right.
always
You know,
thought-
for stand-up, writing is the holy grail. That's if you want to
Yeah.
continue on, you look at the great stand-ups
Yeah.
who pump it out and do special after special. They're always writing, and they're
Well, not the old timers. They did the same thing. forever.
That's right. That's right. And they had
Again,
writers.
it's a writing era now,
Right.
or the last 50 years, 60, 70 years. But hey, look, Robert Klein is my hero too. But I never, for a moment, tried to be like him or sound like him. And I got a tape of Seinfeld his first time on TV. He was wearing glasses,
Hmm.
and he
All
hit
right.
a punchline just like Klein. Everybody was influenced by someone, I would say, but I wasn't. It was just an amalgam of all those rich, tanned Jews on the Ed Sullivan Show.
Yeah.
I hear you.
With the
Seinfeld
gold
says in his
watch.
book, he said that Robert Klein was the first comedian he saw who made him think, I could do this. He's kind of like
Yeah,
me. Yeah.
right.
Hmm.
Except then when he's doing the Cars Having Coffee show, he doesn't have Klein on till the third or fourth year.
Right.
He doesn't have Jerry Lewis on till the last fucking year.
Well,
Let
we
me
don't
tell
know
you.
the reason for that.
Well, I know with Klein, it's
Maybe I
no,
mean, he
no.
has.
Klein made a joke about it, said something about it, and also Seinfeld sitting in the booth. He says, I love when you did the hawking hot tickets for scalp tickets for the opera.
Hmm.
And Klein goes, the Rigoletto here, Rigoletto, right up front at the Met. Get your seat for Rigoletto. And and Jerry falls out of the seat, like he always does when he really laughs, right? And Klein finally just said, that's why I don't do so well today. A comic is always a comic. It's,
Right.
it's like,
But I do know his deep respect for Klein and for Jerry Lewis because his episode on Comedians in Cars with Jerry Lewis was just beautiful. It was a couple just right before Jerry died. I remember
no,
Jerry gets his
I
big.
know Jerry Lewis. And no, when he got the comedy award at George Slaughter's Comedy Awards, which I went every year, and I managed to get myself nominated for some guest starring thing on something, so I would get in. It was great. And Jerry got up, and the first thing he said is, "What the Christ took you so long?" That's what he said on
Mhm.
mic. Don't think for a moment they ever stopped thinking about that. How could you have a comedy award and not give it to Jerry Lewis in the first year, or two, or three? No. Jerry walked in and said, "Look, I'm wearing what you were wearing in 1961." And Jerry's just sitting there eating. Remember, he had that plate of bacon
Yeah, the big plate of bacon, and
by itself. And Jerry goes, "This is what you eat." And he goes, "Jerry, I'm 91."
then Jerry says, "Did you ever hear that it's bad for you?" And he goes, "No, never heard that." It was a
Yeah.
hysterical line. So let's segue about you and I were talking a while ago because this really interests me about you. You had some
Yeah.
health issues
Yes.
come up, and
Again.
again, your spiritual take on it
Yeah.
for me was quite. It
I don't
was
remember what I said.
well, you believe in
That's
God,
the truth.
and despite the fact that you've had some pretty bad health things, you never wavered.
Oh, no. No. Oh, what? From God? From being Jewish? From my life? It's just been wonderful. Everything. No, I'm a pretty lucky guy. I've had prostate cancer twice. How do you do that? They removed the prostate when I was 50. How do I have it now? Well, you have a mass there. 20 years later, you have a mass. The only thing I knew about mass was it's a Catholic thing. That's when I fell out the door. My face was after a mass. But I was sick as a kid. I was a rather sickly kid. But I thanked my parents immediately at the beginning of the show because if my mother wasn't such a loving, warm mother, they said that Freud said, if you know your mother truly loves you, you can do anything you want. And I think that was true in my case. I had Crohn's disease. I've had that my whole life. So by the time we get to this stuff, a little cancer here, a little cancer there, it's all, I've been taking pills for 50 years. Some of them even prescribed. It's just been wonderful. But I laugh at people who don't realize how special life is. And again, my friend Dave, he's a good guy. He's an atheist. You could be an atheist and do good, I'm sure. He does. But I couldn't imagine being in a world where that was all there was my little thoughts and actions, and Mark, as a father, all you gotta do is look at a child and then you know he's working up there.
What happened was a while ago we had a talk and you had sort of a dire report about.
Yeah. Well, this cancer, it is cancer. I say instead of big C, I say the small C, because my wife goes, only you got a full head of hair, you don't look sick, you're not act sick, you don't sound sick. But it was a dire report because I made the mistake of listening more to the doctor than to God. You see, if you go to a doctor and you ask him, I actually asked the doctor, could you please explain all the mumbo jumbo? Can you tell me what it says? And the doctor said to me, I think you got about a year and a half. This was
Hmm.
about 3 years ago.
I remember you told me that.
Really? Really? And I didn't cry or anything. I just said, I've been in pain all my life. I give you the good side of it of what I believe in and how happy I am. But also, that happiness had me overcome the pain every time. When you saw me in stand-up coming into the comic strip, I could be sure my stomach hurt one time that day, if not later that day. But it didn't matter. My goal was to get a tan because it made me look stronger, dress better, stand up straight. And pretty soon I always tell people I wanted to be in show business more than be sick.
Hmm.
So it's a mental thing.
So
It's an
so you
attitude.
get a report
Yes,
like that.
yes.
What's the you get a report like that from the doctor because you got a year and a half.
Yeah.
What's the conversation with the wife or the daughter like?
Daughter's in New York already doing something. She wasn't there immediately. I always have to like lie to her. I don't say it's a stomach thing and a cancer thing, something like that. I have enough things to draw upon. But in time, she was told, but not, but in a different way. Like,
Sure.
I might make it a little bumpy or something like that. But my wife, I don't remember. I'm a little surprised that she doesn't do more when I tell her.
Well, you and I joked about that. Like, if we both have wives that get all over us at times. So,
Oh yeah, right. About without a party, if you see a couple kissing and hugging, and you know they
like
haven't.
the joke was even before the cancer, we said if you had cancer, how long would it be before our wives get back on our ass?
Oh
And start
yeah.
yelling at us.
Later that same day. What do you say to movies? Later that
I
day.
think it was like 2 weeks. If you got
Yeah.
a
Well,
cancer
this one
report, we
was
got.
that. No, she never really changed any major things going on here in the house. You know, I told you that joke with the shaking hands, right?
Hmm.
That's uh, that's an old Phil Harris joke. But it's kind of like, oh, she used to make fun of people who slept in separate rooms, married couple. And then as the years go by, and we're almost 37 years, she goes, I don't want to be in the same bed. She says, you have to prop your feet up on pillows, and I'm not comfortable on my side of the bed if you're up like this and I'm over here. So let's just go in separate rooms. I said,
So
that's
Hiram,
right.
what's a private moment like after your doctor tells you such a thing? Like you're sitting by yourself.
I really just kept moving. I don't know. I've been knocked around a lot, in essence. First thing is, they asked the guy, like the show You Asked for It. I
Sure.
asked him to explain this. He wasn't the cancer doctor. He was a nice Jewish fellow, a different kind of doctor. I forgot which one. I have a lot of specialists, and he was very sweet. And I said, they write that mumbo jumbo. Could you tell me, Dr. Levy, the only Jewish guy in the whole tribe I got up here? Could you tell me what it says? He goes, yeah, I think it sort of means you got about a year and a half. I said, oh, thanks. So I'll tell you what did happen. The next time I saw him, it was after a year and a half. Oh, he said to me, the book says you should come back in 6 months, but frankly, Hiram, you don't have to if you don't want to. Hello. Oh my
Hmm.
God. Now you realize you're in trouble. So I come back and it's past the time, whatever it was, I don't remember exactly. But I knew he was embarrassed and nobody's going to say anything about, hey, nice prediction. I asked him, he said it. So as a Jewish guy, Jesus Christ. That's a dear friend in Las Vegas calling. Kenny B. So let's see if my mind can recall where I was there. So I go
The
back to see
prediction.
him. He doesn't say anything about the prediction. I don't say anything. We shake hands like we always do. I walk out. He runs behind the glass to get me a stamped parking thing. So my one Jewish doctor figured, he'll just get it stamped this one time for me. I
That's
thought
funny.
that was very funny.
Hmm.
Don't
You know,
think?
I heard a doctor or somebody once say, you know, their doctor gave him this very dire prediction, and the guy says to the doctor, "I'll tell you what, I'll bet you $50,000
Ooh.
that I'm still alive, you know, at the end of this and even longer after the prediction." And the doctor says, "No, I don't want to bet you. I don't want to gamble." And he goes, "So why did you tell me that this is going to happen if you're, you know, I mean, take the bet if you're so sure about yourself."
Yeah, but that's not my story because I asked him.
No.
That's
So when we started talking about this, you did the same thing you told me that you did now. You kind of seemed to shrug it off and just talk about God and
I do
and even
shrug
the
it off.
doctor told you needed to do something and you were debating whether or not to do what the
That's
doctor asked
right.
you to do.
Well, I left out a couple of things. One of the things was I was seeing a urologist who was glad to take over the case in lieu of I didn't want to go to an oncologist because I went once and there's little signs, arrows that say cancer, 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 and you see old men shuffling. I don't want to go there anymore, he said. So the urologist says, I'll take care of it. Just get a reading every month and send me what the number is. So I know a girl from high school. And because of Facebook, you know, we're in touch. She says, I used to work with a urologist. What do you mean you're not seeing an oncologist? This guy's not doing anything for you. He's looking at a number. But I tell you also that I told when the urologist told me I had a mass there. It started with him. And I wrote him a thing on that portal thing they give you in the hospital. I said, I don't want anything done. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
I don't want anything done. If you guys, I was a little mad then. I go, there was no reason that I had to have prostate surgery at 50 so quickly. I only had a 4.6. But you guys that's rushing to do that, you know what? Now you're going to rush to not do anything. And I want to show you what it's like to have a patient who's not afraid. And I'm not going to have anything done. He says, well, you're the boss, Hiram. I said, okay. Then I was out in L.A. a couple of years ago. I don't remember where, you know, and I went by my great internist in Century City. Walked up to the window. I said, "Is Dr. Galen here?" He materialized. He must have heard my voice, something. So right up at the window, I said, "I got a bad report." He goes, "Oh, shit." Like that. So you know you got a good doctor. Oh, fuck, like that. He says, "Listen, give me his numbers, this and that. Today at lunchtime, I'll find out everything." This is a good man. I never got billed for this or anything. The great doctor. Diana did not realize when we left for Batavia, we're leaving quality doctors.
You didn't get
That
billed? You didn't get it? You didn't get a
no,
bill? Give me his number. I want to call him. I got some things to talk to him about.
you got no bill from the dermatologist.
So continue, please.
So he says to me on the phone, he gave up his lunch hour to talk to me. I couldn't believe it. He says, "What is this?" It said on on the bottom of the chart when they type the stuff out, there's something below a line that you can't see, but it's only for the doctors. I didn't know that. And he says to me, "It says here you told someone, one of your doctors, you're ready to go for hospice care." And I said, "Well, as a matter of fact, I am." "Well, how could you say something like that?" The good doctor said. I said, "Because I've had pain my whole life. And not really. So it wasn't always just like chipper and happy about everything. It was just like, fuck this already. Because I know how they roll and how pharmacists roll. On the other side of the story, they'll try to keep you alive while you're breathing through a tube. And I don't want that, you know. I want to be like my hero, Johnny Carson. He said when it's got bad, he didn't take any tanks with him or nothing. He said, that's it. He didn't want to fight. So I sort of said that. And he said, what are you talking about? You want to go to a hospice? I said, well, he goes, listen, Hiram, just don't take anything invasive, but let them give you things that are not invasive, like a shot or an x-ray or thing like that. Okay. So I listened to him. He's a good man. And I'll give you, oh, you know what? This is all from your Dr. Bulbus years ago, Mark.
Yes.
And Dr. Bulbus was also a good man because he said, I have no room for a new patient. And he sent me to his protege, Dr. Sue.
Mm-hmm.
And Dr. Sue was very nice for a few years, and then he got really angry with being a doctor. Could you imagine this? The opposite of Bulbus. and he's American-born Chinese. It's an ABC, they call that. And he said, worse than a Jewish father. He said, I came home with A's. My father said, why not A pluses? You got to be a doctor. Okay, take it easy, Doc. So one day, me and Diana were getting old. We go to the doctors together. So we have the same insurance. We go to pay, and there's a sign up saying we are not taking WellCare, whatever the name of the insurance is. Oh, all right. So I go to my pharmacist, who I'm friends with in LA. And I said, well, I got to find another doctor because he's not taking my insurance. And the kid, Ben, who run the place, he says, hi, I don't want to tell you this, but I got customers that are still on your insurance, and he's taking them.
Wow.
So between telling my wife to lose weight and she doesn't, and having to write out prescriptions for me all day long, some for very strong stuff, he said, who the fuck needs these people? They're not listening to me, and I'm a pusher for him, and she ignores me. Fuck that. He was very unhappy being a doctor. And then we went to Dr. Galen in his same office. He's as sweet as Sue is bitter. So Steve Galen is his name. Do you know what he did when I was leaving his practice to go to New York? He said, wait a minute, come here. I wouldn't have thought of this. He pulled me in a room and he sat down and quickly typed a letter. He must have been good in college. Boom, 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 boom. No mistakes. Typed out a letter, said, please welcome this wonderful man, to whom it may concern. Please welcome this wonderful man into your practice. He's been taking oxycodone, 5 milligram for 25 years. There's never been an instant of drug-seeking behavior, and we are very sorry to lose him in our practice. Please call me if you have any assistant guy in charge at Cedar Sinai. And I took that letter with me and was always able to get my medicine. But I would not have thought of that. Right. It's really changed. Right. The world has changed. Every time you see on the news something like that fucking idiot who just killed his wife and his son, Schiff. How about that?
Yes.
One, huh? How's that for a million? Very nice.
Yeah. Well,
killed your wife and son. And he said, oh, no, I'm on the pills now. I'm taking 60 a day. I say, you stupid fuck. Even Rush Limbaugh only took 30. He says 60. It's an out-and-out lie. You drop dead if you took 60 of them a day. So he just started lying, and he kept lying.
Right.
Do you remember?
So I tell you, I'm so glad that it's that prediction did not come true. You seem to me like you, God willing, will have many more years of life ahead of you.
Thank you. Well, there's been others since then. One day I go for the blood work, and the number jumped from 12 to 102. Hello? I didn't tell you that one. So I quickly called an oncologist and got over myself with that and ran to see him. And this is a guy born in China who went to Yale, Mark. Are these guys smart or what, huh? He comes out of China and goes to Yale. Well, anyway, with him a month or two, and then you go for a shot every month. We give you a shot called Lupron. You get this shot that get in your ass, blah, blah, blah. The number crashed through the floor. Went from 102 to 2, and then below 0. It was like crumbs. Now, that guy said to me when I first went to him, I'd say you got 5 years if you do what I say, and a year and a half if you don't do anything. So there's that year and a half again. Somewhere, greater minds than mine thought of that year and a half. But I said, all right, no, I'm going to do whatever you say. All right.
It's like asking this. It's like asking the sex with the wife. She says, if you do what I say, 5 years until the next. If you don't do what I say, it'll be 5 years, and if you do what I say, it'll be a year and a half. Here you go. I almost screwed up that joke.
I know, but it's always funny anyway. And when Seinfeld got married, I said to him, not that I was invited, Larry Miller and I always had like a love-hate thing. I loved him and he hated me. I don't know what it was. But we were like brothers from the same mother. And yet, I don't get invited to Jerry's wedding, and yet I don't get to the.
It was, by the way, in defense of Jerry, I didn't go either. It was a very small wedding.
What about the bachelor party? Excuse me.
Well, you said the wedding.
All right. Well, first it's a bachelor party.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I was invited ever since then. It started
Call him
going-
up. Call him up and let him have it. Call him up. Listen, Jerry, I just got to unload on you, baby. I've had it
I
with
got
you.
other things to unload on him another time. But no, it wasn't him. It's not him. I'm mad at George Shapiro the way he talked to me in front of people. And Jeannie, the former Jeannie Wolfberg, it loves him while he was alive because he paid for their oldest son's education.
Right.
You have to
I
demonstrate,
understand.
right?
So here's my mother, or somebody in my family say, let the dead be and let them
let
rest in
him be.
peace.
Let him,
So-
rest in peace. Hey, look.
Lowell, where are we?
I
I
think
still
we're
got plenty to say, Lowell.
we're
I think we're at that time, Hiram.
What do you think? I'm like you, Lowell? I got a lot to say, my friend. You should have seen me and Lowell last week trying to set up the computer to do this.
I'm glad I
we
didn't
did
see it.
We got it done.
I would have had, as my mother would use the word, a conniption.
I get it.
Do you know the word conniption, Lowell?
Sure.
Yeah,
Okay,
is
good.
it English or Jewish?
I think it's Yiddish. Conniption. Sounds very Yiddish.
Yeah, there's another word that sounds very Yiddish, and it's not. I don't know. The same type of thing with aggravation. Well,
So we have a question for you before we go. We have a
Yeah.
question Lowell likes to ask
Oh,
all
so-
our
Oh,
wonderful
no,
guests.
please give your best shot.
But do you have any advice that you would wish someone had given you when you were younger, or that you want to share with people?
Actually, not really. But now that I look back, I think my mother was, as wonderful as she was a little bit insecure
Mhm.
that she was an in-law with the big family of Kasten bombs. That's my real name. And they were all rather intelligent and more religious, and they're this, they're that. My mother was sweeter than all of them put together. But she always kind of worried. When I think that she didn't send me to yeshiva, Mark, my sister went first to yeshiva. A girl going first and not the boy, you'd be hard pressed to find that anywhere. And why was that? Because my mother saw me holding my stomach at 3 years old. And she knew I had something wrong. And the stomach was sticking out. And she said, this kid's not going every day till 5 o'clock. And she risked the wrath of everybody in that family. But then as I got older, I realized she could stand up and be proud of everything she did, including raise me and my sister. We're very good people. But we never heard that. So when Jerry Lewis said you got to believe in yourself, yes, I think I was always a little concerned with what other people are thinking. That's a truly good waste of time. So,
I can use that advice. Sits with me too.
yeah. Well, because
Thank you.
we're insecure. We came from, when we talk about, law, we talk about dentistry. We didn't know each other. We didn't have the same dentist. And yet Mark said it's prehistoric dentistry. And I knew just what he meant. I had that too. My dentist was 70 in the Bronx.
Yeah.
I remember when they brought the drill in with the water, Mark.
Yeah, I know.
I was a kid.
I used to have they had a hamster in the cage running around the little thing there, which moved the drill up and down. That was no anesthesia. I remember him going to drill on me. I go, "Are you giving me anesthesia or a shot?" He goes, "No anesthesia."
Oh, mine's the opposite. He gave me a bulb to press. It was straight nitrous oxide, N2O, straight, no oxygen. Today, you ask for nitrous oxide, they go, A, we can't give it to you. B, if they have it, they go, only 50% oxygen. Oh, and they go, it won't go any higher. I go, why don't you stop talking like an idiot?
Right.
When I was a kid, I got 100%. Then they fall down. The nurse, the girls, oh my God. Oh. And it was terrible. Why were they so stupid, though? I mean, I liked the effect it had on me, but he was on the Grand Concourse, Mark. When he finished working with me, I was so tanked up with that nitrous. I'd say goodbye and walk out his door and go right crossing the concourse in the middle of the street.
Yeah, I
5 lanes
understand.
of
I
front,
understand. That big
going each
concourse
way.
is like
And
6
I
lanes,
remember-
7
I
lanes.
remember turning and seeing him watching me from the door. Did I get out okay? What's he going to do when I get hit? It worked on a different one. And when I was there once to get I always gave my teeth done. I had very bad teeth. Chewed bubble gum all the time, drank Coca-Cola. One day it's an Erev Yontif. I don't know which Yontif it is, but Dr. Katz looks in the room. He says, Hiram, would you mind letting the cantor go ahead of you? He has to have his teeth cleaned before the holiday.
Wow.
And I said, of course, because he's like a star.
Yeah.
Yes, of course. Temple out of Israel was like Richard Tucker was the cantor there before we were born.
Sure, one of the great singers,
Yes.
Jewish
You
cantors.
know, just do like Dick Cavity. Just goes Google it when he talks. Just Google it. When you have to
So,
say
Hiram,
who Dr. Knox was, forget it. Yes, sir.
we're going to have to wind this up because this has been an incredible talk with you, and
And a pleasure. A pleasure.
a pleasure. It's been a pleasure.
Just tell me about who was the Reb? What was his name? Who ate red meat every night? At
That ate
Yeshua?
red meat. I
The
don't.
old man. I think he was a survivor. Reb Glazer.
Oh yes, 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 yes. He was like
I know he
90
probably
something
not
years
with us.
old. I never saw him when he not eating like you know, some animal product.
When they go to a function, they ask you meat or fish, and Schiff would say fish.
Yeah, and
And
now
they
I
would
don't say
go with
anything. No, I just go,
Reb
give me a piece of
Glazer.
lettuce, wet lettuce. That's all I want. So
And Reb Glazer's eating a side of beef every day.
every
God
second.
bless his soul.
So thank you, Hiram.
I wish
Yeah,
I could
thank
see
you
him.
so
I
much.
can't imagine you, bro. It's my pleasure. Thank you, all. You know, I'm only teasing.
Yeah,
I mean
no, of course.
everything I say. But Mark Schiff, what can I say about you? Anyway,
Thank you. Great way
I
to.
can't see you, but how do I get to hear this or see this?
We will tell you. Don't worry about it, there, pops.
Yeah, it'll
We'll,
be
we'll tell
a
you.
few
But
weeks.
Was this broadcast today live?
No, no, no,
no,
no. We edited. We put the
is it
music and
live or is it
yeah,
Memorex?
exactly.
Okay, back with you, Mark here and Lowell here, and that was part 2 of Hiram Kasten, my good buddy. Wow, fantastic episode. Um, like we promised, not only did he have his showbiz stories about his life and talk about his marriage and his child, but he talked about his medical issues. And I, once again, were inspired by Hiram.
Yeah, no, that was a great interview, start to finish. It was really some of the fun stuff, talk about Seinfeld and Larry David and all that stuff, but, some deep stuff as far as religion and philosophies, beliefs, and, some of his health issues. So that was great. Hiram, it's funny because when we were setting up for this interview, I talked to him a couple days beforehand and we ended up talking for well over an hour. And so he's just a great guy, easy to talk to, some amazing stories. I hope people enjoyed this half as much as I enjoyed it.
So, did you tell the people why you spoke to him for an hour? Because very much like me, he couldn't figure out how to plug in his headset.
Well, that was only part of it. Yes.
That was 58 minutes of the 1
I
hour.
think he and you went to the same technology school. He admittedly is not great at technology, so he warned me ahead of time. So there was nothing unexpected. We worked our way through all the details and nuances of it.
I warned you about him. I knew I was in trouble when I said to him, we were talking about, I texted him, I go, you have an iPhone, right? He goes, oh, let me see. I knew that was the end of the conversation really in the technical world. Let me see if I have an iPhone. And
hold on, let me
then
unplug
he
it from the
looked at
wall.
it.
Let me see.
He looked at it and he goes, honey, is this an iPhone? So
Did it make you feel good though? Like technologically, you're like,
I'm way advanced. I'm like a nuclear, scientist compared to him. But God bless you. You got a big mitzvah and a yashakayach for dealing with my friends who are technologically inept.
That'd be funny if I don't know if there's such a thing, but like a gift card to like Apple, where someone could get like an hour with a genius to explain like how to do stuff.
Oh, I've had that. I've called the Genius Bar and they hung up. They called me an idiot and then hung up on me.
So how did you get this number?
Yeah. Do not call the Genius Bar anymore.
You're ruining our reputation.
I didn't know you had to be at a higher level to actually talk to the Genius Bar.
Right.
Now
There's
I know.
an admissions exam.
Yeah. So that was Hiram Kasten. I loved it. We tell them who's coming up too. We have Judd Apatow coming up in the not too near distant future. We have Phil Rosenthal coming up in the not too near distant future.
Yes. We may have to edit this in case those are already aired first. But yes, these are all people that will be available. These are people that accepted our invitation.
There you go. That's it. I'm sorry.
No, don't apologize.
I'm sorry.
We'll fix this in editing. Don't beat yourself up.
We'll fix it in post.
We hope everyone enjoyed it. And if you don't already follow us, the podcast, please head over to Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening to this and follow so you won't miss any episodes. And please let your friends know about You Don't Know Schiff. Send them an episode, send them a link to our podcast.